He's trying to get me wired up for sound, so good luck. Make sure you're wired up. Good luck. Is he technically deficient? Look, she doesn't remember me? You don't remember me? Good. Is that right? Where was she?
She's at confirmation.
Oh, nice.
Craig says really too if you got
What?
Craig says
Oh, maybe somebody shut the, I didn't check the antennas. Yeah, that. You never shut those off. I think there's some other button.
Check one, check. Good.
Okay. Yes, sir. We got that. We put this around here. You just put that in your pocket.
Right.
Yeah, you've got one for questions? Okay. So welcome everybody. Thanks, Justin. I got it figured out. The power button helps. Okay, so I am just delighted for you to be here and excited. I know you have lots of questions, and I'm just so thankful that Russ flew all the way out here to be with us. Russ Goodman, CEO of Faith-Based Expeditions, has taken, we've done 2 tours of Israel with him, tremendously successful. I see some alumni of some of those trips.
My friends.
Yes. And Russ is actually going to be going with us for the whole tour, which is really great. So anyway, without further ado, welcome, Russ. We're so thankful for you to be here and to tell us about this great
Thank you.
exciting trip.
You want to say a prayer for us before we get
I would love to. Gracious God, we do place this whole venture and adventure as a faith-building pilgrimage and sojourn. And so we place this in your care for you to watch over our plans. And so bless this meeting and this conversation and presentation as it gets us excited about connecting with Paul and the apostles in a much deeper way. And so we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. I think we should give Russ a hand for driving all the way out.
I'm from Atlanta. I didn't drive. Good to be here. I wish it was warmer. I left 80-degree weather to come out here, so. Anyway, it's probably warm to you guys, but it's not to me. Okay, a few things before we get going. Other than the fact that I just enjoy seeing so many of you guys, friendly faces. It's been such a long time. My gosh. Look forward to traveling with you guys again. Okay. Number one, Bill's going to arrange for me to get your name and email addresses so that at the end of this, when I get back to the hotel, I'm going to convert the presentation you're about ready to see into PDF. I'm going to email you all of that. The reason for that is that I don't want you to have to worry about taking copious notes during the presentation. Just pay attention, listen to me. There'll be a time at the end for Q&A, but I want to make sure that you have a chance to listen to me. 2, if I tend to start talking fast, please forgive me. Raise your hand and say, slow down. I have a propensity to do that, so forgive me. I'm actually from Mobile, Alabama, but if I had still my drawl, you would never understand how fast I talk. So I'm going to try to slow down And if I get too fast, just raise your hand and ask me to slow down, okay? I'm also going to ask you to hold your questions, if you don't mind, until I'm done with what I'm about to present, because I want to be conscious of your timing here. Church morning, I'm sure you want to get home and have lunch and rest for the rest of the day, so I'm going to try to be expeditious as I can get through the presentation, okay? Everybody got the brochure? If you don't, I hope you can one there at the back table there. A couple things about this, and I don't have this on the slide. You can notice the prices. You notice there are two prices that are at the top. One is a lesser price called land only, one is for land and air. The land only simply means that you're going to secure your own air. We do have group air. It's on Delta, it's out of Seattle. And for those of you who do want to pay the higher price, just means that you had a chance to get your own air if you want to. A lot of people have miles, they like to use that. In regards to the question I would get, if I get my own air, what happens if I get to the airport at a different time than the group? Your price includes everybody, no matter what day you get there or what time you get there. You'll be met at the airport by one of our representatives, and you'll be escorted to your transfer to the group hotel, so no one will be lost. So don't worry about that, okay? If, for example, you also want to upgrade, some folks like to upgrade to business or to premium economy, which is just fine too. We have a business class consolidator. I would like for you to work with me to get that done if you want to get that done, because he has discounted air rates. And he has some really wonderful discount. You talk to the Slocums, they'll tell you, they're the first two, by the way, that registered. So, his name is Robert Cavoni. He is excellent. I've been with him for years, and I get all my business air and premium economy air through him if you decide you want to do that. If you decide that you want to arrive early or stay later, no problem for us. Let me know, and we will arrange for you a room at the group hotel on both ends, and we'll just add the cost of the room for you in each end on your invoice before you pay, okay? So we're trying to be as flexible as we can and accommodate as we can for everybody who has their own type of travel, okay? The other thing is on the brochure before I get into this, two things. One is single supplement, and what that means has nothing to do with your marriage status. It has to do with the fact that you want a room by yourself. All the hotels in Europe and in Israel and Turkey and every place you can go to, they charge what's called a single supplement. That is their rationale that if they only have one person in a room, they lose second ancillary sales. So they hike up your price. I hate it. I've never understood it, but it's what they do. They don't do that here, but they do that over there. So that's what that means for that. And there's a different price for the main tour and a different price for the Rome extension. Lastly, you'll notice that there's a barcode on it. If you happen to have someone that you're talking to and you happen to have the brochure on your hand, just tell them to click their phone right this, and they'll take them right to the itinerary to the tour webpage, and they can see exactly what's happening on that. Okay? That's what that's for. All right, let's get into this. Greece. Before I go into this, the first question I have been asked so far as I've started to do these things is, what does the issue in Ukraine have against our travels? According to our office in Israel and in Italy, zero. Nothing is happening right now with it. Our hope and prayers is that it is going to not last very long, but right now they are insulated to any of that issue happening in Ukraine. Flights are not being bothered by it. Buses, touring, all of that. Nothing has been affected by that. Let's just hope that stays that way. But I want to get that out of the way since that's all over the news now, and I might start getting some phone calls about that. So I want to get it up front. Okay? Okay. Here are the dates, as you can see. What we're going to do today is, excuse me, is we're going to talk about the travel restrictions in Greece and in Italy, and thankfully they're not many, as much as they used to be. We're going to have a frequently asked questions comment part section of my presentation, which is, they're rather boring actually, but there are questions that I typically would get if I don't bring them up front now. You're going to bring them to me, and I'm just trying to save you a little bit of time. I'm not going to cover all the questions that I'll probably get. If you have some that I have not covered, in the Q&A section, please bring them up, okay? I have a short video that I want to show you of what you're going to see when you go to Greece. I don't have one really for Rome. They are very, very anti-fly over Rome and take pictures. The Vatican doesn't like it, and a lot of the places down there do not like that sort of thing, but we're working on getting something that is commercially set that I can maybe send to you as an email for those who register, okay? And at the end, like I said, it's Q&A. Those will be your chance for you to ask me any question you want while I'm here. If you don't remember a question to ask, but you do after I leave, Again, Russ Goodman, and this is my email address up here. Feel free to contact me through the email, and I am responding very quickly on either my iPad, my phone, or my computer. I try to be very conscious of someone wanting an answer. Okay? All right, let's go to travel restrictions. Vaccinations are not required. That has just been dropped not too long ago. They had that at one point for a while, obviously, and it stopped right after the Omicron variant started to decline rapidly. Well, thank you. You notice, I appreciate that. So, the vaccinations are not required to get into Greece, and they're not required to get into Italy, which is good, no matter what country you're coming from. But there are some things you're going to have to do prior to departing. One, you have to show proof of one of two things. Pcr test, which is the long test, usually is the 2 prongs in your nostril, or, in my case, the place I go to does it through a mouth. They only do it through saliva. And that is done within 72 hours of, remember this, arrival into Athens, not departing from here. So, when you register, and in the registration dashboards, what you have a chance to go and view, there is a section called Documents. And that section has the flight schedule. That'll also send to you later on. But what you want to do is, and I'm not sure why they did it this way, but you have to take consideration from the time that you leave here and the time that you arrive in Athens, how's the layover going to be? So you don't want to have a long layover. The group trip doesn't have a long layover. We're well within the 72-hour time frame. But if you get your own air, you want to make sure that whenever you decide that you're going to arrive in Athens, 72 hours back within that time frame is when you have to have the test done and reported. You also have the option, if you don't want to do the 72-hour one, is a 24-hour one. I recommend you not do that. Only because you don't give yourself a lot of time to get the results. But even though they say they can get it back in a 4 or 5 hour period, which they can do, it's called rapid antigen test. You're leaving on a Tuesday, which means you have to do it on a Monday, and that's good. Because there are a lot of groups that leave on a Monday, have to do it on a Sunday, and they don't do testing on Sunday. So if you're going to do the testing at all, try to do the 72-hour one. If not, 24, do it first thing on Monday morning so you get it that day of. All right, we'll talk about what happens if you haven't get diagnosed with COVID during that time frame. Okay. You also have to fill out any time between now and the time you depart, and I would say fill out sooner than later, just as soon as you register, this thing called a PLF. It's a passenger locator form. It's a form that allows the government of Greece to know that you are entering into their territory. It's automatically online. You get an automatic response back from them very quickly that you received it. Keep a copy of that and bring it with you. It's an easy form to fill out. If you have problems filling it out when you start, just give me a call. And I have no problem walking you through it, but it's pretty easy. But don't wait until the last minute to do it. If you can do it any time, I would say do it next week or right after you register. Just get on the line, get it, and fill out that form. That way you have it already done. The same kind of form you have to fill out for Greece or Italy as well, for those who want to go on the extension. Okay, so we'll have that in just a minute with that. This is the link right here, the travel.gov.gr. That's that link. Again, you're going to get this PDF from me, so you'll have that in front of you, so you're writing that down right now. And the only other test you have right now, which is required by the CDC of the United States, is what they call, again, the rapid antigen test, which is 24 hours prior to departing your flight back into the United States. Now, when you arrive to the United States, it's when you depart from Greece or you depart from Rome. Our office will handle that for you. They'll arrange it for you to get it done. They'll have the places for you to go to. Usually it's a clinic in Greece. I'm not quite sure yet in Italy where they're going to do that. But our office will make sure that you have a chance to have that tested. Sometimes we can bring the person to the hotel and do it there. I don't have a cost for that yet, and that will be something you'll have to bear. But it won't be very much. Israel, for example, it costs $45. I mean, it's not major. But I'll let you know what that is as soon as they have defined what that test cost is. But again, it's the test the CDC is requiring, not the country of Greece or Italy. That too may drop. My hope, honestly, is between now and over the next 60 to 90 days, this will all be gone. Israel, even though you're not going there, is one of the harshest ones that have had travel restrictions, and they're talking about dropping everything within the next 60 days. And we're just hoping, since the Omicron variant has dropped, no matter what you see on the government website, Italy and Greece and all their Omicron variants are really, the cases are dropping precipitously, so you're not gonna have any problem with that. And our hope is that they're hurting their tourism by making people still do this stuff. And so my hope is that within the next 60 to 90 days, that all of these restrictions will be going. I will keep you informed of what that is for those who register, as I hear back from our organizations and our office rather in Greece and in Italy. I talk to them every week, so they'll keep you completely on top of what's going on. All right. Everybody has got to have travel insurance. That is their mandate. And the reason they want that is because travel insurance has to have what's called a COVID-19 language insert. We have what's called a COVID rider. Our insurance covers it. In fact, most insurers do now. They weren't for a long, long time. In fact, our insurance didn't for a long time. It took about a year to get that together. They got hammered so bad with insurance fraud that they had to simply rip it out of their, not cover anything with COVID at all. But since that point, they got their act together and they defined it as a illness. It's like pregnancy, the flu, heart attack, whatever. It's defined as an illness that prevents you from traveling. That prevents you from traveling. So you have to have it, and you have to have language inside your insurance that states that. Again, ours is called a COVID rider. It's an addendum to our insurance policy. They made it that way so they can pull it off later on, not have to do the whole new policies for the main part. We can offer to you. It's easy to calculate. Wherever the cost of your trip is 7.2% of that cost. That's the cost of your premium. Easy to calculate. So if it's $2,000 or $3,999, multiply that times 7.2%, you'll know what your premium is going to cost you. Very, very easy. The reason they do it that way is that later on down the road, if you want to go early, there'll be a little bit more money added to your account. If you decide that you want to not get your own air, even though you registered land only, you want to change that to land and air, then you have to add the air to it. So all of that's easy. They made it easy for us, 7.2%. If you want pre-existing conditions to be included, then you need to acknowledge to us that you get the travel insurance at the time of registration. You gotta ask for it. You can always believe later, but ask for it. You're not paying for it then either. You're only paying for it when you pay your final payment. But I need to show on paper that you've requested the travel insurance when you registered. This is an insurance issue, not mine. So I wanna make sure you all understand that. All right, what happens if you are diagnosed with COVID before in that 72-hour time period or 24-hour time period before you head out? Like I said, it's considered an illness. If you are diagnosed but your husband or wife is not, you both can say it covers both of you. But you're not going to be able to travel. They won't let you do that. It's really critical. They say 72 hours ahead of time is what they're going to cover because they've had several people who get diagnosed 30 days ahead of time decide they want to cancel and get the money back. Insurance company says no, because 5 to 7 days you're supposed to be cured again, not have it. So they maintain that this window of 72 hours has to be within that time frame that you've had been presented with COVID. Now, if you get COVID a week ahead of time and it still prevents you from going, I will do my best to fight with the insurance company to get it back for you, but that's not their rule. They're trying to hold people accountable for not doing crazy things. Okay. So obviously you won't be able to travel. We'll submit the insurance claim with you. We'll help you do that. And again, this shouldn't be a problem. So you should get everything you spent back to get to the trip, except for the insurance premium. That's not refundable. And any credit card fees that you pay are not refundable because we can't get those back either. Once we've done it past 24 hours, they keep it. They don't return it to us. And then, like I said, it'll be treated as an illness. This is a great thing for the travel insurance to do. But if you decide to get something like through your credit card or some other ancillary insurance company, please make sure, I said most have the COVID rider, not all do. Please make sure they have a COVID language section that states, if you contract COVID through a testing or you actually do get sick, then they will cover your costs. You do not want to lose that much money because you decided to get insurance for a little lesser amount of money and they don't have that for you. Same really happens, what happens if you get failed or you find you got diagnosed with COVID when you arrive in Athens. Well, that doesn't, you don't have to take a test when you arrive in Athens like you do in Israel. It could be you're on the trip for 3 or 4 days, all of a sudden you start getting sick, you go to the hospital, you get tested, you got COVID. You will be quarantined. And that is one of the things that is a problem. You'll be quarantined up to a minimum of 7 days. The person who has the COVID is the only person that is required to be quarantined, not the group, not the husband or the wife or whatever else. If the husband or wife or the family member, like a child, gets it, they can stay back. And if they stay back, the government of Greece has agreed that they will cover the cost of your hotel and your food and all that, which is pretty dang nice. Israel's not so kind. They will punish you all the way. Okay? And like I said, only the person that caught the COVID needs to stay. The whole group doesn't have to get quarantined. They agree that really isn't the case at all. And we're hoping that even this will end up changing. The cost of the issue you have is if you get quarantined, let's say you're 8 days into the tour, or 6 days into the tour, you get sick, you go to the hospital doctor and you find there that you got COVID. Well, obviously you're not going to make your return flight because you probably have to stay for 7 days minimum. You have to get retested 5 days into it. If you find that you're negative at that point, they test you one more time and they can let you go. But it may affect your air. For those of you who've got group air with us, we will work with our air consolidator. You have to notify me immediately while I'm going to be with you. Tell me in the room. I will notify our air consolidator to try to work very hard to get you a new set of air reservations. The problem is I won't know when to bring you back. So that's what we have to figure out. But we'll do everything we can to make that work. But any cost of that, any extra cost, if the change of the air because now it's a new date, they're going to raise your price because of a new date, or it's considered a one-way flight rather than a two-way flight, keep the receipts because all that's coverable by your insurance. Okay? Your medical care is covered by your insurance while you're there. Your medical care is not covered by your insurance of this type of insurance when you return home. That's when your main insurance company steps in. Is that clear? Insurance can be a really complicated little thing, especially during this time. So I want to make sure everybody understands it. All right, like I said, keep all receipts. What are the mask requirements right now that they have? In Greece, what they have is a typical thing like we have, well, like you have here for sure. I don't have it in Georgia. But right now, obviously the airport's here. You have to wear your mask. On the plane right now, you have to wear your mask. I have heard through the grapevine that the flights are arguing really big time with the U.S. government to have the mask mandate removed because of all the hassles they've had with it. Conflicts they've had on planes because the mask is really kind of crazy. But they're hoping within the next 30 to 60 days that that's gone, that you're not going to have to have it. I'm not looking forward to wearing 11 hours with a mask, but I think many people aren't. So we're hoping that's not going to be the case. But obviously the airports right now, you got to wear them. On the plane, you've got to wear them. And then when you go outside, not the places where we go to, if you go to a restaurant, you go in like we do, wear your mask off the bus, you sit down, take your mask off. So it's really no different than we have here. Not all the sites that you go to require masks. Some may, depending upon the site themselves. They can change their rule any day. They can change it the day you're there. All I can say right now is that just be prepared to have your mask with you just in case the guide says, you gotta wear the mask today, they just change it. That's all. And again, these are all conjectures for me right now as far as timing because we don't know when these things will be lifted or changed. It could happen on a daily basis. But hopefully all the gathering spots we go outside, and there are quite a few of them, you don't have to wear them. We are going to be going indoors a lot more in a Greece trip than you do in an Israel trip. There's a lot of places where we go see are indoors. So I want to make sure that you understand, bring a mask with you. This is a requirement to, let's see what happens, it says Greece, it should say Italy. Same thing, same kind of requirement. The only difference is your Pcr test is 72 hours prior to arriving to Rome, or 48 hours of the antigen test, not 24. But once again, those that are going on the extension with us, we will handle this when we get to Rome. I'll be with you. And we'll make sure that everything is handled that way. We'll go ahead of time, far in advance, where we get these people tested before. And then, as you see down here, there's a different link that you go to fill out their PLF form. This is for Italy, not for Greece. So, again, this will be on the PDF that I'll send to you. You don't need to write this down right now. And then, once again, as you re-enter from Rome or from Italy back into the United States, the CDC requires a 24-hour antigen test. And that can be done, and the results of that can be back in 2 or 3 hours. So it's really quick. Typically, we do that in the morning of the day you're leaving. All right? All right. Frequently asked questions. I kind of go through these a little quickly because I said they can be kind of boring. But and if you've heard this before, like many of you have, don't shoot the messenger. Will sites be open? Yes. All of right now will be open in Greece and in Italy. Nothing's been standard by this the virus, and so we're not expecting anything to be closed. Again, it could change on an hourly basis if something happens where that site decides something's happened and they need to close. We'll notify, our guide will be notified, and we'll make adjustments accordingly. What meals are included? In this case, Bill was very kind to make sure he includes all meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast and dinner are done in the hotels. Your lunch will be done during the tour day. And what's nice about this, has been something that we did starting about 4 or 5 years ago, is that when you include the lunches rather than have it optional that you pay for it when you're there, we're able to go to restaurants that really require certificates that prepaid, and they're nicer restaurants than those you go to if you don't prepay it. Because they have to go to restaurants that accept these vouchers. Not every restaurant does. So if you're there as a group, you'll get better food, better service, and you get to go to places that are much better. So you get 5 lunches on the main tour, and you got, I think, three lunches on the extension. Well, the tourist bus has bathrooms. I'm asked that every single time. What's really good is in Greece, the answer can be yes. Greece is one of the few countries that actually like having bathrooms on their buses. So I requested it, and I'm hoping that that's exactly what we will get. I can't guarantee it, but if I was going to Israel with you, I'd say absolutely no, you're not going to get that at all. But Greece, they have the option to do that. I can't tell you about Italy, that I don't know yet. Will there be power adapters? Yes, as we did before. At the end of the final payments are all made by everybody who goes. I then send you a travel packet that has a number of things included in it, and one of those things is a power adapter. Your power adapter, of course, is different in in Greece rather than it is in Israel. So there's a different power adapter gives you for that, and also in Italy. So what if it requires 2 different power adapters? I don't think they do. Then I will make sure that you get the both, or you get one that covers both countries, 1 per person. If you want more than one, if you have more than you want, the electronics you want to cover, just go to Amazon, ask for power adapters for Greece or for Italy. They're like $3 for 3. They're not much. All right. They're only meant to charge up small electronics, cell phones, laptops, iPads, cameras, things like that. They are not meant to charge up hair dryers. You don't need to, because hair dryers in every room. They're not meant to charge up curling irons. If you want a curling iron that does that, go to Amazon. They have them for that. That actually can be changed in their power to adapt to that. And they're not meant for irons, as you iron your clothes. On that subject, I'm also asked many times, are there places to do your cleaning, your washing your clothes? Answer to that is no, not like a laundromat, but you can get it cleaned in the hotels. I would not recommend doing that, because the hotels are notorious for not getting you all your clothes back before you have to depart for the next site, or the next place. So I would say when you pack, and we'll send you a packing list of recommendations of what we think you should pack, and the kind of clothes you should pack that can be washed very quickly and easily in your bathtub or your sink. That dries very quickly. Anybody who travels a lot knows this already, but we'll help you with that. But no, they don't do laundromats there. Are our tips included? Yes. One of the things that we enjoy doing right now with all of our trips is that they are fully inclusive. There is no extra amount of money that you got to spend except you want to buy something for yourself or friends. Everything that you pay for this trip includes all the costs. Hotels, transportation, air if you get land and air with us, and it includes the gratuities. And the gratuity is for these list of people here, the tour guide, bus driver, hotel staff, as well as lunches. Again, the benefit of having lunch is prepaid. It all includes the gratuities. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. The other thing about the lunches, Mom, let's say too, is in regards to, can you get it?
Oh, he's just locking.
Oh, we can't get out.
You can get out. Don't
Okay, good. Make sure that's good. Make sure. Anyway, so the good thing about having the lunches are all prepaid for is that it can actually save us time than having everybody wait to pay. If you have 20, 25 people, it can be another half hour. That can be a half hour taken away from the next site. So this is why we do it this way. You get up, you take away, the guide has already given the voucher to the restaurant folks, and we're on our way. And that will hopefully get us, have the chance for our guide to show you another site, something that wasn't on your itinerary, and that's what we're hoping for. Okay. Here's the temperature in September, October for both Greece and Italy, depending on whether you're close to the water or not. But it's really comfortable weather. I mean, during September, it's a beautiful time to go with it weather-wise. September, October, 86. That's actually my favorite time other than May to travel overseas. So you've got a great time frame to do this. 69 is not really, it's really 70, 71, but we gave a little run 69, and it's real warm 69. It's not real cold. To you, 69, it's probably warm, I know. Okay, what do you dress? Once again, when we give you the packing recommendations, here's what we recommend you think about when you get ready to pack and what you need to wear, both from a standpoint of just touring, and then there's some requirements as you go into some areas that require a special kind of dress. Casual shoes. Shoes is probably one of the most important things. I don't care what you wear. You can wear any kind of shoe you want to wear, sandal, flip-flops, tennis shoes, whatever you want to wear as long as it's comfortable. You just have to know that you're going to be walking on hardpan a lot more in Greece than you did in Israel. So you want to make sure you have very, very comfortable shoes. Again, we don't care what you wear. Just make sure that you have something that you feel comfortable with. The other advantage in Greece is that you're not doing as much walking. It's a little bit more bus riding than you are at walking. So it's less strenuous on you if you're curious about that. No formal wear. And it says cruise. I left that on me because that was from another slide. You're not doing a cruise. But no formal wear at all. So don't do that. Dress comfortably. Dress in jeans. This time of year, dress in shorts if you like, because that's very appropriate. The only place where you cannot wear shorts is when you go to churches or monasteries. We're going to a place called Meteora, which is in the Kalambaka area. And in the video, you'll see a nunnery and a monastery on top of cliffs. That's called Meteora. You'll see it. We are going to visit one of them, either a nunnery or a monastery. They are not going to allow you to go in shorts. And they're not going to allow you to go with anything not covering your shoulders. So if men, you show up in your shorts and you refuse to not follow the guidelines, you have to wear a skirt. So, and we do take pictures and it does go on Facebook. Okay, so yeah, so what we say is that when we're in this country, that like Greece, Turkey, Israel, Jordan, wherever we are, we want to abide by their custom. And especially when you go to a monastery or a nunnery, we really want to make sure we don't tick them off. We want to follow the rules and regulations on that. Okay, so like I said, so in that case, it's called conservative dress. Hats are not required anywhere where we go, but I recommend you bring a hat or some sort of head covering because you will be out in the open quite a bit, and that time of year it's going to be quite warm, and you want to protect yourself. Okay, so here's a typical daily schedule. It fluctuates by maybe half an hour, depending upon where we are, where we got to tour that day. But basically, you go to 6 o'clock, 6:30 wake up call. That's standard in almost every tour I've ever done. We will set the call for you before I go to bed. I have the guy who will take that care of for you. If you don't want to have the call given to you, just go downstairs to the lobby and say to the front desk, say, take me off of that. I'll do my own wake up call. But we'll do that. But then 7 to 7:45, you go to breakfast. Typically, that's the time the breakfast opens up in the hotels. Now, I don't know what the hotel's restaurant lineup going to look like in September. Right now, all their buffets that are still buffets, but they have some of the other sides serving you because they don't want you touching your spatulas and all that kind of stuff. That may change. But the food quality, the way the buffets are set up, will be no different. Okay? And then 8:15 to 8:30, sometimes maybe 9. They'll want you to be on the bus. Why this time is really important, and I hope to come back again before we actually take the trip to do one more final meeting with everybody, so with those who have registered, so that we can go over this more time. But this is really critical. If the guide tells you, please be on the bus by 8:15, he doesn't mean be on your way to the bus by 8:15. The reason this is really critical because if everybody is late, someone forgot the camera, have to run back up to the room and get it, and also take off at 8:30, 8:35, you just get till 15 minutes of your next tour, of your next site, or somewhere on that day, unless we can get some good traffic or whatever. But this is meant for you to be on the bus and we're driving away. So whatever the guide tells you the night before, and again, we'll iterate that's the people that actually register, that's when you want to be on the bus. And I will be there making sure that happens, and I know Bill will too, because he's a taskmaster, I know that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and then usually back home by between 5 and 5:30. Again, what's really good about this time of year is that it doesn't get dark until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So you have a lot of time that you can do things. Now, going back to restrictions for a second, one of the rules they have now about the restrictions is that if you're not vaccinated, if you're vaccinated, that's okay, bring your vaccination card because you want to have that. They may hamper you from getting into a restaurant if you go out to dinner one night outside the hotel, if you're not vaccinated. That can change by September. But right now, if you're not vaccinated and you want to go to a restaurant outside the hotel, and you don't have a vaccination card, you may not be able to get into a particular restaurant. Not all restaurants are like that, but some may. So just be aware that if you're vaccinated, bring your card. It's always good to have that if you are. All right, so that's basically the schedule that we have. We've talked about the ground transfers from the airport. You'll all be met, like I said. Because we're not going to get hung out there. So just make sure I know what your flight schedule is if you get your own flights. So I can make sure you are met by representatives at the airport in Athens. And then I'll know when to take you back to the airport if you don't go on the extension, or if you go on the extension, we need to get to the airport from there. So I just need to have that information in order to know that. We talked about that. Okay, here's just some dates. Again, this is why I want to send this to you, because I want you to make sure you really keep track of this. June 10th, 22, we need to release all unused air seats. It's called a utilization date. It's what the airlines forced me to say, if I hold 30 seats, I've got 15 used, I've assigned 15 out of the 30. I need to make a decision by this date, whether I want to hold a few more, and then hope that someone joins, or release it all, and then after that date, there's no more airspace for group. Those who register after that point, which they still can, then they'll have to get their own air automatically. So this is an important date. So if you want to try to get air, you decide you want to go land only initially, but then if you want to change your mind later, you got to do it by this date. June 12th, that's your final payment due date. That is when your final payment is due in our office. 30 days or so, you'll get a reminder from me or my wife to remind you that, by the way, June 12th, your final payment is due in our office by this particular date, so you don't have to get hammered by me all the time trying to get you where's the money. July 27th, I need to submit the final flight manifest to the airlines. So anybody who wants to join by June 10th, that's fine, but after that, by July 27th, I've got to turn in all manifests, and I've got to pay for the airlines, and after that point, there is definitely no more repair. And then on August 1st, I've got to officially close the tour. Now, what that really means is that it doesn't mean I can't accept more registrations after August 1st. It means that I have to ask permission from the hotels if they have a room for you. So I can take people all the way up to a week before, as long as I can find a hotel room for you. But this is the date that I'm required to officially close with my office in Greece and in Rome, that the tour is closed, unless I request something different. All right? Required documents. Folks, you gotta have a passport. That does not change. Your passport cannot expire prior to April 1st, 2023. 6 months after your passport. So it's 6 months after September 22, and that's the date your passport cannot expire. If you expire any time before that date, you're required to get another passport. Okay, so keep that in mind when you look at your passports. I've had people look at the passport. Usually when I request people to send me passports, usually goes, I've caught this, and they didn't see it. So what I'd like you to be able to do is get your passports to me as soon as possible, scan them and email them, so I can have my record. I have to have that anyway in order to make sure the airlines have the information. But if you have it, don't wait till the last minute. Just scan it. Most of you probably have one anyway. Just scan it, let me get into the, when you register, just send it to me. That way I can have it. I can make sure everything's appropriate on your passport. When you register, there is an opportunity for you to register, if you have a passport, to put your passport information in the registration form. Do that for me, please. Register, it's just whatever appears in your passport, your name, your birth date, passport number, expiration date, issue date, all of that is available. When you go to register and you don't have your passport, and that section they ask for your passport information, leave it blank. Put nothing in it. Otherwise you won't be able to finish the registration. Just leave it blank. And as soon as you get your passport, give it to me, and I'll fill that in for you after I get your passport. All right? And then, like I said, I need to make sure I get the complete flight schedule for those who get your own air. All right, I'm going to show the video now. It's about 2.5 minutes or so, and this is of Greece, kind of an aerial view from a drone that we had done professionally. It starts in Thessaloniki, not in Athens, where you're going to start, and kind of works backwards and ends in Athens. So we shut the lights.
Yes.
So that is kind of a snippet of what you're gonna see while you're there. That isthmus, that canal is unbelievable to look at. I mean, you just will not believe what you see. And I've seen a tanker go through there. It's incredible. Only one can go at a time, because it's not that wide. And secondly, when you saw Meteora, the monastery on top of the cliffs, it's awesome. It's amazing. Not sure which one. There are 5 still left out of like 20-something that are still in operation. So we'll find one of them to go into. All right, so this is the Q&A time. That is my bit for you. So if you have a question, get the mic and we get the answers so the folks that are watching can hear it.
Hey, I know my passport will be expired in December, so I'll get it when I come back from travel that I'm doing in April.
All right, not a problem. Yeah, you don't have to have a passport now to register. You just need to make sure that you have it before you leave, and then I get it just as soon as you do leave, okay? Yes?
My question was for the vaccination status question for the lunches that are going to be a part of the tour. Is that going to be an issue?
No, it's not the vaccinations, it's really the mask. Again, there's no vaccination requirements that I've been told about right now. They lifted them. Can't guarantee they won't come back, but right now there's no vaccination. No vaccinations means no vaccinations. But if you have a vaccination card, bring it with you. It won't hurt. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Over here. Oh.
You got it, Tom? Oh, yeah.
Passport question, your
Yes.
passport. Mine is expired. Is that completely up to me to try to get it, what do they call that when you try to get it faster?
That's what that,
Yes.
is it up to you?
I mean, do you help with that at all? or is
No,
that-
ma'am, it's
okay.
easy to do.
All right,
Just
okay.
contact the passport control
Yeah.
place, and usually it takes 48 hours to get it back, about $25, $30, and you get it pretty quickly. But you've got enough time, you may not have to worry about that, if you do it quickly.
Yeah, if you get going on now, you probably are safe, yeah. While you're still thinking of some questions, I want to add a couple little things to Russ's presentation. One, make sure if you didn't get your email on here to please do so before you leave. As you can tell, you guys know me as your pastor, my gifts and my weaknesses. And this is why you can see Russ's gift for detail, covering every little thing, thinking about it. When we go with him, we are in his hands, and it's amazing how smooth things go. So one, I just want to tell you that, and I see a lot of you shaking your heads from previous trips. If you sign up, this is what I plan to do, like when Julie and I have led 2 trips to Israel. We're going to have Bible studies, prepping as we go. I plan to have somewhere between 7 and 8 Bible studies, like hour meetings, that will help for each day. And so the goal of this, and which is the goal of faith-based expeditions, is to help you connect the scriptures to the place, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
that's the incredible thing. So if you sign up, now do you have to come to those meetings? No. But I will record them if you can't. And so it'll just make it so much richer. You're going to get to know the book of Acts, because we're going to do a lot of places where Paul preached or other apostles. And you're going to, now when you read that passage, you're going to go, oh, when we hear about Paul's message to the folks in Athens at Mars Hill, you know, I was there. I know what it looks like. I can imagine him preaching and teaching there. So that's a big, you know, the reason, you know, the big benefit to this. Those who have gone to Israel, you know, still have now, they read about Capernaum, you know, and oh, I was there. I know exactly. And it just really enlivens things. I want to tell you that I asked my wife, who went on our last Israel trip, and she said, you know, I really didn't realize how powerful it would be to actually be in the place where you hear these Bible stories happening. So that's a big, know that that's a plan that we plan to do internally. So one disadvantage is I haven't been on this tour. So I'm going to be working with Russ, you know, as I plan my Bible studies and my prep for you, so that I can be right on target. And then I'll do some teaching at each location, or not every location, and then we have a guide that does incredible enrichment with everything that we do. But I'll also have some presentations each day, you know, with each site. So just know that is part of the plan. if you sign up. So that's just one thing. Lisa, yeah.
So what are we looking as far as a minimum number of people going versus a maximum number?
Good question.
Well,
Well,
there's no minimum. I mean, the price is all predicated on going to 20 people. So I don't think there'd be a problem with getting the 20 people there at all. There's no max. I think, honestly, I would encourage no more than 40 people if you get that high. And otherwise, you lose some extra seats in the bus that you can spread out on. And actually, more than 40 people gets to be a little awkward to handle, especially from the passenger's point of view,
yeah.
and for connecting with one another.
Yes.
So I would say 40 or less, 27, 29, 30, that's a best size group.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, great question, Lisa, and I'm hoping for at least 20.
yeah.
That's my goal. And then also, something that just reminded me, and this is in your brochure too, that each tour, we have these things called the whisper system, where I wear a microphone and you have a receiver, and you can hear what I say. So you can be standing way away, and I can be teaching, and you can still hear. So if you have maybe a little bit of a hearing challenge or whatever, know that those work well and are wonderful additions. So, yes, over here. Yeah.
Will we have an opportunity to go to Sunday services at one of the churches there?
That's a good question.
Well, it's all, as soon as Bill lets me know if it's a church or so that he wants to try to do that, so it'd be better,
Yeah.
then I can get a hold of our office and say, this morning or this afternoon or where you guys want to do it, they'd like to have this so we can get that into the itinerary now and try to adjust it now rather than on the fly.
Thanks for asking about
Yeah,
that.
so that's a
I'm
really
gonna
good
have to,
question.
I didn't even figure out where we were gonna be on Sunday, so
And what
I hadn't even zeroed in on that.
And
so.
in regards to teaching for Bill, I'm gonna make sure that I send Bill my recommendations where he can teach that has the best audience ability for you to listen. Corinth would be one of them. So I mean, it's wonderful to teach there. But I have 4 or 5 places where I think it'd be good for Bill to teach. He can then choose elsewhere. And then when he's there with the guide always asks the tour leader, in this case Bill, would you like to talk at this site? And sometimes, no, I'm okay with this one, go ahead and do your thing. They can talk pretty much as well as Bill as anybody else can, but not quite as well on the biblical side of things. So they always know that, and they want to make sure that the tour operator has the opportunity to do that from their perspective, so that you don't miss out on anything.
Perfect.
Yes?
Is one cell phone carrier better than the other, AT&T versus Verizon?
I have T-Mobile, and it works just fine over there. Now again, like every other country, you're going to be in places where there is going to be sparse cellular towers. So you could have some spotty places. Hotels, they have really good internet there and Wi-Fi. The buses, they're working toward getting Wi-Fi in each bus, so that you can actually do your connecting while you're on the bus. Turn it off of airplane mode, put it on, listen to what we do to put it on airplane mode when you get out of the bus, that sort of thing. But I don't have a recommendation one way or the other than to check with them about your rates, because they do have plans.
Yeah, that's what I've done,
Yeah.
is checking it. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Great question.
How many times will we be changing the hotel when we were in Greece?
3. You're changing from Athens to Meteor or Kalambaka, and then you go, well, actually 4, but you're going back to Athens. So Kalambaka, then to Thessaloniki, and then we fly back to Athens.
Okay.
So it's 4 hotels, but 2 the same hotel.
And then will we handling our own luggage, or will there be personnel there to help you?
No, actually, they really want you to use the bellman that outside the bus. Every time you get to the hotel, check in, then there'll be a bellman brought down to your bus. All you gotta do is get off, go into the lobby, get ready to get your keys. They'll take your luggage up to the rooms, and then we'll let them know if you want them to pick your bags up from the room, then they were leaving, they'll be there to pick it up as well.
Do we tip them?
No, ma'am. No, I'll have all the tips for all the hotel staff, and that includes the bellman. And if you happen to be in the room when they bring your luggage to you, don't tip them.
Oh.
I take care of that at the end of the hotel stay.
Yeah, and they're aware of that.
Yeah, so I'll control all that so he doesn't have to.
But they'll take it if you give it to them.
Yeah, they probably.
I think that's pretty well, yes.
Is there a limit to luggage size? Is it carry-on or is it all checked? On the
No, there's no
airline?
limit. I mean, if you're flying coach, they will charge you past 1, I think.
Okay, you
but
can have
I-
one bag.
Yeah, but I recommend that you take not more than 1 bag, check in per person, because of the bus storage area.
Sure.
And if you get to 25 or 30, 35 people, you got a lot of luggage there. And if people start to double up, there's no room for it, you'll be inside the cab. You don't want that.
And a carry-on on the bus is
That's fine. All the buses have shelves that are above the seats, and they're made for backpack packs and some small suitcases and things like that, not for your check-in luggage.
Great question, yeah.
Is every day accounted for, or is there a free day?
There's no free day. There are some, what they call free afternoons, and that's all predicated on whether we get done in time. So we don't want to say free afternoon for anybody, because we end up eating their words when we say that. Because we get to a site, they decide to add a site, and all of a sudden your free time is not your free time. But your evenings are your own. There is nothing you have to do.
Yeah.
And you don't have to get to dinner at the same time with everybody or breakfast. It's all open up. You'll have an area in the hotel, in the dining room, where you'll have a sign for Silverdale Lutheran Church, and that'll be the section you sit in, but you don't have to be there at the exact same time.
Will that be in Greece?
Greece and Italy.
I mean, Silverdale Lutheran Church in Greece. In Greek.
No, not in Greek. Not in Greek. If it is, no one will be able to see it or read it.
And I only know a little coinage, but I don't speak that anymore. Hey, some people asked while we're going to another, I think, did we see another hand? Right here to Lisa. And then while Don's coming up there, some people have asked, am I doing the Rome extension? Yes, I'm doing the whole thing. But we wanted to make that, because also it makes it a little more affordable for some folks, so to be able to do that. And then Sandy is also planning to go, that's the big draw, is for Sandy. When I interviewed for the call here, I said, once they met Sandy, I said, I have to call. But anyway, so, yeah, okay.
As far as physical activity, and Russ, you know why I'm asking this question.
Yes, this is good.
What is the least physically active day versus the day when we would be most physically active, and what would those look like?
You probably have 2 days that I would consider as the most active days. That would be the first day that you are going into the old city, or what we call the Parthenon, and that area to see the Acropolis. That's a lot of walking up a lot of stairs to get to Hardpan and rocks and things like that. It's a lot of walking that day. Mars Hill, which is right next to it. Also have to go upstairs and go to see the top of it, that sort of thing. The rest of the time, as you're driving to Corinth, it's like walking outside your parking lot here. It's very flat, it's dirt, and all that stuff. Very little walking that day. And it's a nosing type of walk. It's not really a walk. Not like you do in Israel. It's a hyper walk there. The next busy day, and Thessaloniki is not very busy that way. Karbala is really just a town that's a beautiful town to see. We drive past it, get out to see it. But when you get to Lydia Stream and you get to Philippi, those are not long walks. Once again, it's a slow-paced walk through the sites and that sort of thing. So it's not like Israel. The next busy time would be the day you're in Rome. When you go to the Vatican and things like that, because that's a lot of hard-pan walking. But again, it's not a lot of fast walking. So the easiest day is the day you drive to Meteora, because that's about an 8-hour drive. We'll stop a long time all the way. It takes a lot of time. We'll go to Delphi, which is a fun place to go visit. Very few tourists do that, to tell you the truth. But it's where mysticism was, and it's just an awesome site. So we break it all up.
And that's going to be a great opportunity for you to learn the religious landscape that the New Testament starts on. So
Greece is beautiful territory and everything.
Yeah. Excellent questions. Yes.
I know you'll have books suggested for us to read, but is there a book list, reading list that goes with this?
I recommend that the reading list be done by Bill.
Okay.
But in your packet, there will be a Greece book that you'll have by Greece and
okay.
Martin. Yeah.
And I already have a book recommendation. Okay. The author is Walter Wandren, W-A-N G-R-E-N, I believe, Walter. And he's written, he's written 3 books. One is called the Book of God, which I recommend to people a lot of times. That's the entire Bible in novel form. So it reads like a novel. But he's also written one called Jesus. So he takes the 4 Gospels and writes that as a novel form. But he also did one on Paul. So find the one that he wrote on Paul. And that'll be great. Because, we know a lot of Paul's letters. But as far as knowing the trips that he took and where and when, that'll be a great help. So that's my first. I'll have more. Okay, Bradley, and then Ellen. Melanie, and then Bradley. Go ahead, Mel.
Just a question. When do you need us to register and pay $500?
When? When you're ready.
As soon as possible.
Yes, ma'am, whenever you're ready.
As soon as possible.
Because you're going to get to a point where if it's highly popular, then he's probably gonna cut it off if he gets about 25, 30 people, so. But it's just as soon as you can, that helps for me, especially with the air, because if more people register than I have air for, I can also request it earlier now to get more seats than I have already held. I think I've got 20, 25 seats held, and I don't know how many people are gonna register land in air. That's why I do that.
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Yes?
Russ, we're thinking about extending in Greece at the end. So when do we let you know or coordinate that?
Be not go to Rome, go someplace else?
Right. Yeah, just stay in the Greece area.
Oh, sure, yeah, just, let me know. A couple things with that. One is, if you decide to spend to a country like that, which will cost you some money, if you want it covered by the insurance, then let me know what the cost is per person, and we'll add it to your insurance. So you'll be covered. It's the same thing with your flight, folks. If you want to get your own flight, and you don't want to deal with the airline insurance, which is a typically very, very bad insurance, if you want the cost of air included in your insurance cost for the whole tour, let me have the per person cost of that. I'll add it to it. And obviously, like I said, 7.2% of the total cost will be what your premium is. But at least you're covered with your air in case something happens, if you get your own air.
So we go ahead and let you know as soon as possible?
Yes.
Because we don't know how long we want to stay, we just.
That doesn't matter to me. And again, you have to understand, you probably get your own air. Or are you gonna do the group air? Because if you do the group air, that's a problem. Because a group air would have to be able to, Delta has some rules in regards to, they call it deviation, the flight deviation. Group air definition is that you depart from the same city and return to the same city with the group. So if you extended, in this case, deviate from the flight schedule, I have to get permission from Delta to deviate your flight to whenever you decide to come back, but you have to return from Athens. And then if that's the case, I gotta make sure they'll approve that. The price may not be the same because it may be a different price a week later for returning. I just need to know that sooner than later, so I can make that happen, if you wanna do it that way, with the group, otherwise get your own.
Great question. Les?
Would power wheelchairs be suitable?
Let me think. The only place, most of the places have wheelchair ramps except for the Acropolis. I believe they're all steps. They are not set up for handicap, for that handicap accessible wheelchair right now. I have to ask that question if they've done some modernization to that over the last 2 years, because I haven't been there for over 2 years. So but other than that, I think the wheelchair access is pretty much good for every place else we go. The Vatican is pretty all flat land, so there shouldn't be any problem with that, Rome. But I think the only place, unless they've made some adjustments, it's the day we go in to see Mars Hill and we see the Acropolis. And there's a ramp getting to the stairs, but I'm not sure if they have the ramp extended to the top. I have to ask.
And would they be able to handle them on the bus?
Yes, they would put that underneath the bus. If it's, I would imagine it's foldable. And if it's foldable, they can put it on the bus with the luggage. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's different than Israel, because there's just, that doesn't happen.
Well, because Israel has so many
steps.
up and down and steps and rocky roads and all that kind of stuff.
Great.
But that's a really good question.
Great question. But I just also want to say, if anybody's doing the mentor thing over in the gathering place and you want to scoot out now, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah,
But anyway, if not, it's okay. We're great. Let's take all the time we need. I had another thought about the.
While he's thinking about that,
Yeah.
if you don't lose it, if you register and you register with a particular email address, it's the first person that's registered on the email address is where your dashboard return link will go to. In other words, if you register, but you register your husband first who shows up and he has a different email address than you do, whatever response comes back from what we call our back to the house, which means you get a link, you click on that link and you have to use the email address that was used in the first person, because that's what they call the primary person. So if you try to get in, access your account and you use your email address, but that's not the one that was used to register, you're not gonna be able to get into your account. So you need to let me know that for sure. But if you have, but the point is, if you're going to change your email address, let me know, because that's how we communicate with everybody. And I've had a lot of people, unfortunately, get really mad at me because they haven't heard anything from me, but they didn't tell me they changed their email address. And if you change your mailing
Never
address.
had that happen.
Yeah, if you change your mailing address, because like we send your final packets out to you on the mailing address that's on your registration. That's it.
I do want to say that, I'm so glad to have the flexibility that, because the people can include this into some, another trip or add a trip to it. It is a help cost-wise to have, a certain number of people doing land and air.
Yep.
So, I certainly encourage that, but I certainly don't discourage if you want to, include this as part of something else. That's great.
Bill, I'll let me ask the question, will you accept outside church members to go on the trip?
Okay, so outside church members, that came up before, and and it's a little bit tricky because I don't want a member of our church to not be able to go, but at the same time, I don't know how many people are going to sign up. We may only have a dozen people or 15 people that absolutely. So, bottom line, I guess what I have to say, what my preference is that you have a relationship with that person. Like this is a good friend or family member.
Mhm.
So let me say it that way. I've had, because I do kind of want to know who's going. Does that make sense? So, because I need having either a relationship with you who has a relationship with that person, or me having a relationship is important. So that's what I'll say. So yes, because first come, first serve, I guess, bottom line. So I don't necessarily want to have somebody go out and say, I've got this group of 6 people who go to other churches and they want to go. Well, I don't know, talk to me before you register all those people. But if you've got a very good friend or a family member who's not a member of the church, that's fine. That's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
if-
Especially if you want to, so that you have somebody to travel with. That's great.
Yeah, there are occasions where we have a person who doesn't have a roommate or a friend that they know will travel with them, but they don't want to be a single supplement. So
Yeah.
there is a way for someone who doesn't go to your church, they can actually come on as a male or female and have you a roommate. What I like to be able to do is if you know a family member wants to go, just let Bill know about it, and then let that person tell me that they are a member, they're a family member of you. I won't question that as much, but if I have what I typically get from people who just know I have a tour going, and their church isn't doing one, and they want to join a tour, my question is, can I get them to join you? And my preference right now would be no, until you have a chance to know if you've got people going that you know.
Right.
So,
Yes.
I don't want to open it to the masses.
Right. If we get down to closer into the summer and we've got a lot of openings, then I'll think about that more.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, yep. Okay, good questions. I am so excited about this. And praying that, there was one other question that that she said not to forget. So what happens, let's just get the worst case scenario out. Because we're gonna buy people, and I want everybody to buy the travel insurance, one way, form or another. It's just, you fall, you break this is a big investment. So I just really believe in this, and it's very affordable. We saw this, not that it's not expensive, but it's when it comes to this type of thing, this is great coverage. But let's say world events happen and they shut down travel. What happens
You
to
get your money back.
everything comes back? Okay.
I refund everybody.
Yep. Okay. And I want to say we've been praying for you, for those of us who have gone
Thank you. I needed it.
gone to Israel with you, as how devastating this has been to your business, and I'm so glad you're still making it and going. You have how many people going to Israel, or how many groups?
This year,
Yeah.
22, I have almost 1,000 people going. Probably close to 49, 48 trips that are going down. Still got 2 others I'm waiting to answer.
Yeah.
And
So-
people are just waiting to go back to travel. They're just waiting for it. And they're just waiting actually for the last bit of restriction to go away.
Yeah.
So they don't like filling in the forms.
I have been asked about Israel, and I do plan to do another Israel trip. It might be 2 years down the road, and then I have a trip to Germany that I am dreaming about and hoping for. So that's what's on the long-term docket, but this is, I'm really excited about this. So, okay, any other questions?
You have a question? Oh.
Yes. So, thank you for your emails. Keep talking. And the one last thing, to answer the question about how soon you want the deposit. Well, I don't need you to do that. I'll probably start in another month or so, having our first trip meeting. And so, and prep. And that's the difference. Maybe all churches do that, but I can say that when I took taken 2 groups to Israel, I have to just give a shout out to Julie back there, because she got me into this whole thing. Thank you, Julie, you're the best. And I talked to other people who went with their churches to Israel, and they did no prep. And I can tell you that it's a night and day difference between the experience that people have had in Israel. And I'm sure it'll be that way with the prep we do for this trip. Okay, so.
And I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, okay. Well, please, one more.
Do you have a telephone number, cell phone number?
For me? Yes, ma'am. 206.
Cell phone of rep.
Cell phone number, my cell phone number. I've lived in Seattle for 35 years, so I just haven't removed my phone number. 206-679-6893. 679-6893. Yeah, perfect. Call me anytime you please, but remember that I'm 3 hours ahead of you.
So for some of you folks who haven't met Russ before he started Faith-Based Expeditions, you were managing the space.
I'm the CEO of the space station.
CEO of the space station. So this guy knows organization and administration and leadership, and so, yes, Audrey.
When we get ready to send in the deposit, do we use the address on the back here?
You go to what you do is you go to our website, faithbasedexpeditions.com, and there's a place in the middle of the page that says Book Now. On that Book Now, there are 2 blocks, one below that's colored, one above that's white. You put the tour code that shows on your front there, the SLC 922BC. That's the tour code. Put the tour code in the white blank of that space, and then hit the dark space up below it, and it takes you to your tour webpage, which gives you all the information about the tour that you have in the brochure. And in the tour webpage, there's a place called Book Now. Hit that, it takes you right to the registration form.
So you need to do it online. Are you asking if you can do a check?
Yes, I suppose.
Can they send a check?
But you just put it on a credit card then?
Credit card is how we accept it online. If you want to do it by check, then we need to get you registered separately, differently, because
That's what my question is.
it only does it
Those
by
that are
credit card.
Internet challenged, what is their avenue?
The avenue would be to contact me, give me all your information you want, so I can register for you, and I'll change the registration from 500 to 0. Then you send me a check.
Oh,
Okay, and I'll make it easy there are some folks that simply just don't like doing the internet stuff. But typically, on all cases, registrations are done by credit card. But if there's some folks who don't want to do that and let me register for you, just let me know your information that I like to put in there. And so,
Is there a supplemental credit card fee?
not for the
Put it on credit
deposit,
card.
not for the deposit.
Okay.
For future payments there is, but not for the deposit.
Okay.
She asked me if there was a credit card fee for the deposit. The answer is no.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
coming
thank you.
out. God bless you. Let me close this in a prayer too. Thank you, God. Watch over Russ as he heads back home or to his next spot and venture. And thank you for his ministry. And thank you for the possibility of this travel. So we place it all in your hands. And I pray that you'll guide the decisions and the thought process of all those who are interested. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Yay!